Yeah, sorry. It's okay. Yeah, we done got the update. All right, we'll go ahead and share that real quick. That way anybody can jump on. We are continuing on sin, sickness, and demons. So that ought to be fun. I know we're right in the middle of it, so I'm gonna just go back real quick and give some of the highlights. Some of the highlights. We learned that sin will cause 3 levels of separation. It causes a separation from God and His Word, it causes a separation from yourself, and it causes a separation from others. Daddy always said sin will make a change in number. There's different roots of sin, different roots of sin. It can be sins that we've committed, can be sins of our parents, can be sins of our ancestors, and sometimes the sins of others can affect us as well. You take somebody who decides to get drunk and drive, they can still hit you and you can still end up in the hospital. So that can happen. But we always need to look at ourselves first when infirmity is the case. That's always the first place we look. As we talk about with the medical community, you look for the most obvious answer first, and that's usually yourself is the most obvious answer. All right, hey Uncle Mike. Alrighty, so we did a long spiel last time on pride, not giving God glory, bitterness, grief, and all the havoc that it can cause. A self-rejection causes most of your autoimmune diseases because the body is actually destroying itself. So it's a self-hatred.
But that was like the
arthritis right? Or diabetes, things that used to be called collagen diseases. Yeah.
Okay.
So, fun stuff. And we're just going to keep going further up, further in, guys. So we had made it all the way to Proverbs chapter 12 and verse 4.
Proverbs 12 and 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm going to read that in the NASB. But it gives you the same general idea in the King James. An excellent wife is the crown of her husband, but she who shames him is like rottenness in the bones. So here we have a direct link between shame or embarrassment to rottenness in the bones. So tooth decay, disease of the bone marrow, leukemia, cancers in the bone, or TB in the bone.
King James uses your favorite word.
Yeah, I know. A virtuous woman.
Yeah.
That's right. It does. It does. Just using the simple things. So that's one link, and shame is a nasty thing. That's one of the things that we've been seeing more and more, commanding spirits out of various parts of the body that they afflict. Now we're going to move over to Proverbs chapter 14, just to hop and skip over. Verse 30. Go ahead.
Let's see, I'm going to amplify it here.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to leave it there for a minute.
What verse?
30.
A calm and undisturbed mind and heart are the life and health of the body, but envy, jealousy, and wrath are like rottenness of the bones.
More things that'll rot your bones. More things.
Why does NASB use passion instead of, I know like King James is using envy.
But passion? Let's
It
find
uses
out.
passion.
We'll go to the interlinear and we'll look up the Hebrew. That's the best way to find that.
Where is it, Matt?
If you look on the,
Oh, I see it.
Yeah.
I see it.
Instead of envy, it says passion. Because all the different translations of that particular word, jealousy or envy, it goes into zeal or passion. It goes into an ardor of anger, an ardor of zeal. It can be a it can also be sexual passions. So
Amplified Classic says
Oh.
envy,
So-
jealousy, and wrath.
that's
Yeah.
all the possible meanings of that Hebrew word right there
Mhm.
that is translated as envy.
Okay.
So you got kind of a wide scope.
Hmm.
You got a wide scope there of things that will destroy your bones.
Wow.
Yeah. It'll also rob your soundness of heart and your mind.
Okay.
You need to be at peace. You need to be content. Feed me with bread sufficient for me.
So kind of like, what's in the same line as jealousy, then, right? Being jealous
Yeah,
or being envious
exactly.
of what others have.
Exactly.
Always not being satisfied with what
Yeah.
you've been, what God's given to you, but always desiring what others.
Always never satisfied. You know, I did children's ministry for so long. I go back to Madame Blueberry. She was a sad little berry, lived by herself in a house and a tree. She complained about everything. Nothing was good enough. She wanted what everybody else had till her house exploded. So it doesn't end well. It doesn't end well, and that's what's happening. The house is exploding. The bones are rotting. That's stable. It's gonna cave in. It's gonna cave in. It'd be easy to fix the spiritual aspect of these problems. And then we go to Psalms 6 and 2.
Okay.
Psalm 6 and 2.
Have mercy on me and be gracious to me, O Lord, for I am weak, faint and withered away. O Lord, heal me, for my bones are troubled.
My bones are troubled or vexed.
You know, for those of you who's reading out of King James or New King James, I'm in the Amplified.
Yeah.
Going for a little more detail on this.
A little more detail, that's fine. There are just so many things. So sin is at the root of, I would have to say, at least 99.9999999% of all sickness. We don't, when you weigh out the scales, of Scripture, what do we have enough to build doctrine on? We have enough to build doctrine on that sin causes sickness. We don't have enough for the other. We can go to John chapter 9 if we want to and look at the blind man where the disciples said, well, who sinned, his father or his mother or him? And Jesus said, nobody did. This was for the glory of God. And we can pause and think, well, why didn't Jesus correct them and say, silly, silly people, sin don't cause sickness? He didn't do that. Now, if you go back to the Greek, it says it was a deformity. Now, is a birth defect a sickness? No. Any number of things can happen and a birth defect can occur. So at this point, he was just recreating the creation. So those are questions you have to ask yourself. Now let's go to Luke 21 and 26.
Okay. Men swooning away are expiring with fear and dread and apprehension and expectation of the things that are coming on the world. For the very powers of the heavens will be shaken and caused to totter.
Fear.
Fear. That's right. Fear. Fear causes sickness. Hypochondria. You know, you always think you got something. Oh my goodness, something's going on. Something's going on. Fear, fear, fear. Well, you can have it if you want it. High blood pressure, spirit of fear can do that. It's going, you know, it has to have your permission. It has to have a right. That's one thing that we always see in deliverance. Always see in deliverance. Whether it's got a legal right, which is sin, or a agreeing, because the Bible says, how can two go together except they be agreed?
Yeah.
Okay? That devil can't walk with you unless you're agreeing with it in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
And that is one of the things that we have to get through to. What aspect are they still in agreement with the devil with? And it gets interesting. The devil puts any little thing he can. Recently, we've just been referring to that as the delusion and busting through it like the Kool-Aid man. You know, hey, we got to get in there. We got to bust that apart so you can fall out of agreement with the devil and start agreeing with what God says.
You remember the worry dolls?
Yeah, the worry dolls.
That those kids brought into the house.
That's right.
Last year.
And what did it cause? It caused worry and anxiety. Those were occultic objects. That was sin. Unconfessed sin will never prosper. You always have to confess, and some things require confessing to people. You know, confess your faults one to another. You might be forgiven. There's a lot there. So the way we give those devils permission, the way we give that sickness permission to be there is because we walk in agreement through sin, through wrong mindsets. Devils will fight to stay in if they're tethered to another devil. Well, you may not be agreeing with control, but you're still in agreement with lust, and because control is linked to lust, you're not going to get rid of control until you get rid of both of them. And you have to fall out of agreement. These are things that we see in deliverance time and time and time and time again. The devil is a lawyer. So how can it get your permission? The first thing it'll do is to begin to give you thoughts. Satan's a fisherman. He's waiting to see what you're going to hold on to. You know, my daddy used to say, you can't stop a bird from flying over your head, but you can stop him from building a nest in your hair. You know, that's why the Bible tells us to take every thought captive. And you interrogate that sucker. Now, is this from me? Is this from God? Or is this from the enemy trying to plant something in there? The devil ain't going to come in with a big lit up sign saying, this is the devil speaking. He's going to say, hey, that just makes me so angry. You know, he's going to wait for you to grab hold of that, and you chew on it and you fester on it, and then all of a sudden all the stuff that comes with anger starts coming in your life.
Yeah.
Oh, that scares me. Oh, if you grab hold of it, no, cast it aside. No, I'm not giving a spirit of fear, but truth, love, joy, sound mind. I'm giving the spirit of adoption that I cry out to Father. I don't have to have fear. Fear is a spirit. No. You know, those things. So the first time it pops up, take it captive, interrogate that sucker. You don't have to keep it.
I think what's interesting, you know, Mindy, on this is that, you know, a lot of times we get into this mindset, well, you know, we're not going to be legalistic on this. We're not going to, you know, we're not going to sit here and go speech Nazi on everybody. Oh, you can't. But here's the thing, when it comes up, what usually happens and what, you know, and this is just through observance, you can see this happen, is a lot of times it'll start out with one thing, but then, like you said, it just builds. It builds, and it doesn't. And it's like Jesus said, it's the little foxes that spoil the vine.
Foxes, yeah.
It's the little things that we do allow that don't seem like a very major thing, that build up into something that ruins us.
Oh yeah, it's usually the smallest little thing. The smallest little thing. So try to give you thoughts. And that's why we go to 2 Corinthians 10 and 5.
Okay.
What's that tell us?
Insomuch as we refute arguments and theories and reasoning, and very proud and lofty thing that sets itself up against the true knowledge of God.
Yes.
And we lead every thought and purpose away captive into the obedience of Christ, the Messiah, the Anointed One.
There you go. That's how we fight back. That's our first line of defense. If we get lazy in our mind, we've lost the battle already. We've lost the battle already. So that's how we fight back. We lead it captive. We hold it up to a standard. If it don't measure up, we kick it out.
Huh.
So how can the enemy put a disease like high blood pressure on you? He's going to give you feelings of worry. Yeah, get that blood going up. Pictures of things that can go wrong in the future. You can't do nothing about the past. Past is set in stone. We're not promised tomorrow. Today is the moment that touches eternity. Today is the moment that touches eternity. Don't worry about tomorrow. God will take care of tomorrow. Tomorrow takes care of itself. So it gets you to worry about the economy. Worry about the mother-in-law. Wants to come and live with you. About your finances. Just anything. He'll use anything to stir you up. Worry, worry, worry. And worry is a sin. It's an absence of faith. It's an absence of faith. faith. It's an
Never.
evil spirit. Worry is based in unbelief. You're not believing that God can take care of you. It's a wicked spirit. You can prevent this in a little easy way. Don't worry about it. Reject all worry. I cast my cares on Him, for He cares for me. God, you may have a problem. It ain't for me to deal with. I need you to deal with that.
This is the part of deliverance, though, that deals in tearing down strongholds.
That's right.
When you've got somebody that's being delivered of worry, for instance, it's a lot of times built a stronghold in there. That person has come into agreement with this so much that it's,
And worry oftentimes is linked to what? A type of control. Because if I don't fix it, nobody can fix it. And if I've got all the stress, I got to do all the things, or all the things are just going to fall apart.
Those thought patterns that lead. That's why for somebody to stay to maintain their deliverance, just like we read, they have to grab a hold of these thoughts.
That's right. They have to grab hold of these thoughts. Now, worry comes from fear. What gets rid of fear? Perfect love.
Casteth out all fear.
Remember, we're called to be perfect. There are only 3 areas that we're called to be perfect in. We got to perfect that love walk. We got to be perfect in our obedience to God, and perfect in our faith. And if you're perfect in love, that's God's love. If you're perfect in obedience, the faith part's going to work its own self out. Why? Because you're doing what He says to do. You're loving like He says to love. The faith will follow. Remember, the signs follow those that believe. So
That's
we
right.
perfect that. We ain't looking over our shoulder. We ain't got to ensure it happens. So don't accept it. Rebuke it. Take authority over it and kick it out your mind. Don't let it live in space rent-free. You don't need that. We see a lot of fear and things like that. Trauma. It doesn't seem fair, but trauma opens the door to all kinds of sicknesses. It instills fear. It instills all kinds of stuff. Bible tells us not to be afraid of sudden fear. That moment where it comes on. What do you do about a traumatic childbirth that puts fear in the baby and fear in the mama? These things set them up. You can have all kinds of sicknesses that are rooted in these demons, and it doesn't seem fair. So we have to deal with that. We have to face those things. A wounded spirit. Oh my goodness. The Bible tells us a wounded spirit who can bear. When you have a wound in your spirit, that's a lot different than having a wound in your physical body. It's usually born out of rejection and bitterness, unforgiveness. They make themselves like a dog in a trap. You ever try to release a dog out of a steel trap? They will eat you up. They will eat you up. Why? Because they're scared and they're hurting. The churches are full of wounded spirits, hurting people. Hurting people hurt people, but healed people heal people. That's what we need to be saying. Healed people heal people. Healed people heal people. You know what? We can love them in their hurt. We can love them through that. We can side up and encourage. We don't have to snap back. Bitterness. Woo! Bitterness, unforgiveness, and resentment. We went over some of the things that bitterness can cause. We just gonna have to pop back over there because there's so many, it's ridiculous. Where was bitterness at? I know we covered it. We did. We covered some bitterness. Okay.
That was when you got the John Hopkins stuff out.
Yeah, it can lead to kidney stones, infection in the kidney failure, pain. It can have rottenness in the bones, so cancers of the bones, leukemia. It can go into breast cancers, all kinds of stuff. It gets nasty. Your body will destroy yourself with unforgiveness. It also causes arthritis.
Yeah, John Hopkins said it made it the body alkaline. Is that right, Mama?
The killer T cells.
Yep, killer T cells. That's right.
Yeah.
I read that.
Yep.
I was amazed by it.
Yep. And true science will always back the Word of God. What's some other spiritually rooted illnesses that can cause sickness? Jealousy, envy, hatred, anger. Anger will mess with your blood pressure. Anger leads to heart attacks. It leads to stroking out. It leads to all kinds of mess. Anger is not your friend. The Bible says it's the stupid man that's quick to anger. It says don't make friends with him, because when you deliver him, you want to deliver him again. Don't do it. It ain't worth it. It's not a show of strength. So, here we go. Anger, do you want aneurysms? Strokes?
No.
Anger and rage, you need to get it out of your life, because anger, rage, hostility with a deep root of bitterness has to be dealt with, because you're going to explode at some point. Hence the aneurysm. As you're exploding spiritually, your body will respond physically. Stress is a killer. Again, it's not trusting in God. It's a lack of trust. It's an evil spirit of unbelief. Accusing, that'll cause all kinds of problems. Rebellion can lead to a loss of your mind. Look at Saul. Look at, pride led to Nebuchadnezzar's.
Yeah.
He lost his mind too, due to pride. Rebellion causes all kinds of stomach issues, causes menstrual cramps, diarrhea, colitis, cancer of the bowels. It can cause cancer, hemorrhoids, hernias. It can also cause, what's some more stuff it can cause?
You said stomach issues. I think one that came to my mind was constipation.
Yeah. It says that you're troubled in your bowels because of the rebellion.
I know that was.
That was a fun scripture, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it was.
And that was over in Lamentations 1 and 20. If
That
you
was
wanna look
something
that up.
as a
Yeah.
child. I mean, I dealt with a lot.
You wasn't rebellious at
Oh.
all, was you, baby?
Well, you know.
I've heard stories. I've done heard the stories, man.
But I mean, it was. It's
lines
amazing
up.
how it lined up.
Yeah, it lines up. It checks.
Yeah, it did. I mean, it checked on that.
Mhm. Absolutely. All right. Rejection. We've learned how self-rejection, self-hatred, all that causes autoimmune diseases. Now we get into sexual sins. They have their own little list of fun that causes sicknesses. Let's go. Adultery. Proverbs 6:31 and 32.
Okay. But if he is found out, he must restore 7 times what he stole. He must give the whole substance of the house, if necessary, to meet his fine. But whoever commits adultery with a woman lacks heart and understanding, moral principle, and prudence. He who does it is destroying his own life.
So it brings destruction.
I know Dr. George
Yeah.
said he could always tell men who had had affairs because of
Yeah.
the way it showed up in their body.
Yeah. The body consumes itself.
That's what he said.
The body consumes itself. Proverbs 7:21 through 23.
With her enticing speech, she caused him to yield. With her flattering lips, she seduced him. Immediately, he went after her as an ox goes to the slaughter, or as a fool to the correction of the stocks, till an arrow struck his liver. As a bird hastens to the snare, he did not know it would cost his life.
Now, the odds of, a jealous husband shooting you through in the liver, slim. This is a spiritual thing. You're getting affected in your liver disease. It's for your life. It will kill you. Sexual immorality will kill you. As a matter of fact, that was one of the reasons when the early church fathers of the New Testament got together with among the Jews and the Gentiles and said, well, what are we going to require of our Gentile brothers and sisters? Sexual immorality is a no-go. Y'all got to quit that. That was one of them. There was 3 things. That's what they put on them. Why? Because it's still true, whether for the Jew or for the Greek. You don't play with sexual immorality. All right. Then we go into pride, and we talked a lot about pride last time. Remember old Nebuchadnezzar? He did good for a year. Daniel begged him, King, don't get so puffed up. Humble yourself before God. And he played humble for a year. And then he said, look at my kingdom and what I did. And there he was grazing with cows. Just that quick. Struck down in his pride. Lost his ever blessed mind.
Yeah. Mental.
Mental problems from pride. Yeah. It's amazing. Start looking around. And we're not teaching this. I want to go over this again and stress this again. We are not teaching this so you can look out and say, well, I know what you're doing wrong. I know what you're doing wrong. No. How can we help people? How can we minister to them? We want to see people set free from this bondage. See, Jesus was moved with compassion. He wasn't moved from a fault-finding, accusatory spirit. He saw his people as sheep without a shepherd. And that's how we have to look at God's good creation, with compassion.
But, you know, like when it came to healing, when we went over to Curry Blake's
Healing?
healing
so
stuff
great.
was good. And his thing was, you know, he didn't get into this part. He said because it was, you know, his was just, okay, be healed.
He focused on healing.
You know, let's be healed. And
But if you don't get to the root of it,
maybe
it's
not,
just gonna come back.
well, maybe not every time, but maybe that you know, because he said he had like a 97%.
I thought it was 95.
95, I can't remember.
That's still a high success
He has a high
rate,
success
but
rate
it's not 100%.
for praying for people, but you know, maybe that 5%
It's demonically
is
charged.
demonically charged.
And if you
maybe
don't deal
that,
with the demon,
yeah.
you don't get the sickness out. Alright. Idolatry. Idol worship. Oh, fun. Exodus 20, 3-5.
You shall have no other gods before me.
Yep.
You shall not make for yourself a carved image, any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water underneath the earth. You shall not bow down to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me.
Okay. So, you know, there's the obvious stuff, the little Buddha statues, the little pantheism drawings, the Hindu gods. Those are obvious. You know, if you have a white knot of a squirrel on your shelf, it don't have a demon with it, guys. Most odds are it doesn't. Okay, that's not an idol. That you're not unless you're worshiping the squirrel, and then you got bigger problems.
Don't be praying to Miss Squeaky.
Yeah, don't be praying to Miss Squeaky. That are all be trees. Okay. But in the modern realm, anything that we put before God as first, as having eminence, is an idol.
Yeah.
Anything that we put before God is an idol. Whether that's a TV show or a computer game, whether it's your car, whether it's your fishing boat, whether it's a boxing match, or whether it's the dinner plate, whether it's a spouse
Or a child.
If it comes before God, it's an idol.
That little dove
Yeah,
that they gave me for speaking,
yeah. It could be an idol.
I wanted that.
Yeah.
I wanted that thing.
And that's why it's in the garbage can. Why? Because it's not going to come before nothing.
And the Lord told me, don't put that on. You know, you usually when you speak, you put it on your cross.
Yeah.
And the Lord told me, don't put that on there.
Yeah. Pride, idols, cast them down. You got to tear them down. But that will follow you. That will follow down the generational lines. Idol worship. And now we have the occult and witchcraft. That really should go without saying, but here we are in Isaiah 44, verse 25.
Say that one more time, Mindy.
Isaiah 44, 25.
See, I seen 44:25. Oh, I see it now.
It's okay, fish.
Yeah, I see it.
All right. Let's see.
See,
Isaiah
okay,
44, 25. We're gonna read. Which one are we gonna do? Which one do we? We're gonna go with King James on this one. That frustrateth the tokens of the liars, and maketh diviners mad. and turneth wise men backward, and maketh their knowledge foolish. So there you go. There you go. Insanity is caused by occultism, witchcraft, fortune telling. You know, you might.
You see it a lot in the Masons.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do, and that is a false religion. There you go. We've seen it in the Masons. We've seen it from all kinds of things. We've seen it from people. How do I put this? I'm trying to put it delicately. When people have a drive to outknow, to be the top, to rebel, they're operating under the witchcraft, occult banner, because rebellion is a sin of witchcraft. So when people are trying to go outside of that order, that's where they fall. And we've seen this affect people by going to outside sources other than the Bible to gain some great hidden knowledge. There's some things that you just don't play with, like the Book of Enoch. I've got firsthand experience. Person said, I can't read the Bible anymore because it crawls like little bugs all over. Why? Because he was pursuing the Book of Enoch. Why? To get some great knowledge and power. That's what he wanted. Well, that's not the heart condition to come after him. So we need to be careful what we pick up and what we touch. Are there some reasons just in reading the outline of what's contained in it that you can spot? Yes. It goes contrary to what God set up, straight out the gate. Okay. Generational sins. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Fear can be inherited. Allergies can be inherited. Arthritis can be inherited. So what does Ezekiel 18:19 say?
It says,
This is so good.
yet do you say, why does not the Son bear the iniquity of the Father? When the Son has done that which is lawful and right, and has kept all my statutes, and has done them, he shall surely live.
You don't have to die for the sins of your father. Ain't that a blessing? You don't have to. You don't have to receive that.
That's right.
Listen, if the medical community knows enough to take a history, well, does heart disease run in your family? Does diabetes run in your family? Guess what? You need to start looking at spiritual health and physical history. Well, does lust run in your family? Does perversion run in your family? Does pride run in your family? Does shame run in your family? Guilt, worry, fear? What goes down the family line? Because, you know, and show me a grandmother who was violated. You'll see a mother who was violated. You'll see a daughter who was violated right on down the line. Because the devil's passed right on down, ensuring the cycle over and over and over and over. But every generation it gets worse. And a lot of these have the sicknesses and the diseases that are linked up with them. But you don't have to die in generational sin. You don't have to die with generational devils. You don't have to live with generational devils. You can get rid of them. You can say, the buck stops here. It stops. It doesn't go forward any more generations. But it is not something that we get to just passively do. It says the Bible says that the violent will take it by force. We have to get ready for that grappling match, and we have to be prepared to change parts of our lives that have been influenced by the demonic, because your life has been influenced by the demonic. It's hard to live in a cesspool without getting a little boo-boo on you sometimes.
So in other words, stop owning what came to you or through family,
Yeah.
like arthritis and all that. Let's just say Daddy had it, Grandpa had it, my great grandpa had it.
You ain't gotta have it.
They all had heart disease.
I know.
I guess I'll die from early on too. You know, no.
But you know,
I see.
if the Lord delivers you from alcohol, That don't mean you need to go out and get you a job at the liquor store.
You ain't evangelizing the bars.
Uh-uh.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Try.
You ain't
I
going.
mean, you've got your role to play.
That's it. But that one ain't it.
Right.
That one ain't it.
But stop owning these things.
Stop owning. Stop claiming
I mean,
them.
straight up, stop owning these.
That's been one thing I've heard a lot in the last couple weeks. You know, talking with different people was, you know, well, I'm such and such, and I you know, I'm a veteran with PTSD. You know, that PTSD is what they're letting define
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
and it's causing problems.
Yeah.
You know,
You can have what you say.
That's
I'm
right.
so-
not
I'm an addict.
that there's not an issue there. There is an issue there.
Yeah.
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 But you know, it's one thing to grab a hold of it and own it, and it's another thing to let God,
Yeah.
like you were saying, it's not, you know, this is not there so that we can pick on you and
No.
beat you up.
This is here to have compassion.
This is here to have compassion
To
and
have
deliverance.
compassion and the mindset of a physician to make someone well.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, hey, I understand you went through some tough things, but you don't have to let that define the rest of your life.
That's right.
That's right.
You know,
That's right. You know, going through trauma myself, that was the fight of my life. I had spirits trying to get a hold of me,
Yep.
and I would fight. And, I mean, you was right there with it. You remember, it was not pretty. It was not something that was overcome in a day, in a week, in a month. But I never gave in. There was always a resistance. There was always the fight, and victory was won. See, victory is ensured. We will win the fight, but you're not excused from the battle. Most people want the victory without the battle, and that's not how
I
it
want to
works.
get handed over.
You gotta,
Yeah.
it starts right in here.
It starts right there.
Starts right
Devil's
in here.
counting on
I
you
think
not
that's-
knowing that you're
I
victorious.
think that's where a lot of people make mistakes in deliverance, is that they think, well, you know, I should just be able to go in and peace be still. And
5
that's
minutes
it.
later, no.
5 minutes later,
You better be
it's
ready to buckle
handled.
down for 17, 18 hours, however long it takes.
Yeah.
Grab your thing of Oreos and your juice cup and let's go. Hey,
Your
I-
Oreos and juice cup.
hey,
Yeah, I like that.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
children.
You better be able to hang with it.
Yeah.
You better be able to hang with
Well,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean,
You're gonna win.
you're gonna win. The devil's defeated. Sometimes, whether it's like I know, you know, going through my deliverance.
Yeah.
Why, you know, hey, y'all sit there and, hey, you know, I know this stuff. I've, you know, hey, this isn't going to take long at all. We got this. Well, no, there's some hidden shame there
Lord.
that I don't want to come out with. I don't want to tell anybody. But the devil doesn't care. He's going to grab a hold of that.
Yeah. It was still, what, 7, 8 hours?
Yeah.
From start to finish?
Yeah.
And that's just, that's how it happens, you know? And I like what somebody said before you go back, you know, most people require more than one deliverance. You're gonna, from now till we get called home to glory, we're gonna have to be checking the oil, if you will. Changing the oil, if you will. The maintenance. When the signs start popping up, you probably know you need to go through another one. Why? Because you know what? Our circle of perfection is ever increasing and ever broadening and ever getting larger. As we walk perfectly in what we know consistently, God shows us a little bit more. And we walk a little bit further. So why would we be so naive as to think at this point, at this moment in time, I know everything perfectly. I know every tactic. I know everything that the enemy does. I know everywhere where he's affected my life. No, you probably don't. You're perfectly where you can handle at the moment. Keep moving, keep growing, keep learning. Press toward the prize of the goal, the high call of God. You know, it's exciting, but it's a process. And that's the real thing with deliverance. The movie that come out in Jesus' name, that's great. But are people prepared for the follow-up that's required? Because you can't have deliverance without discipleship. You can't have deliverance without discipleship.
Well, you know, here's the thing too. Let's see how to put this. You need to, once you're delivered, fill that house.
Absolutely.
And have somebody that's gonna keep you accountable.
Yep. Somebody that knows the warning signs.
And look here, ask the
Yeah.
Lord to close those doors and seal them. Because every time that you crack that window,
7 times worse.
it's gonna be 7 times worse.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
you need to keep some doors closed.
You need to keep the doors closed. But we don't need to let condemnation, guilt, or shame stop us from pursuing freedom when we crack the door again.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not the answer either.
No.
Discipleship, you know what? People gonna hold you
Discipleship and
accountable.
accountability.
And accountability, that's right. Grow.
You know, there were-
revisit it.
I remember, you know, like when I lost my keys all the time. You know.
That was not funny at the time.
No, it wasn't, because
I still come up to him, why ain't the keys hanging up when that happens?
yeah. Well, you know, there was a long list of things that were going on at the time, and you know, one of the ways that your daddy helped me was coming up and giving me a hug.
That's right.
You know,
Yeah.
if I lost something, you know, no, he just started hugging me every day. All right,
Yeah.
son, come here. And he started giving me a hug every day. You know, and I stopped losing my keys. He had read that somewhere where somebody loses stuff all the time.
They need more hugs.
need more hugs. So he started hugging me every day.
Yeah.
I stopped losing my keys.
We do that when Susan's running through. Where did I set my keys? I come here, Susan. Come here.
You know.
Oh, there's my keys.
But that was
there you go.
that was part of deliverance. But the other part of that deliverance was when he would stop me and say, Matt, ponder your path. Think about what you're doing.
That's right.
Stop going around not thinking about what's going on.
That's right. Be here.
Yeah. And sometimes it got pretty hard.
Yeah. Some days it was not a hug.
Sometimes some days there was still a hug. It was just
Hug, headlock.
yeah, whatever you want to call it, but there was still love behind it, you know.
Well, love can be a pat on the back or a smack on the head, whichever one you need.
Yeah.
And we need to understand that. That's perfect love. It's what you need in the moment. All right. So, ooh. Oh my goodness. Destroying the temple of God. That's not a good one.
No.
1 Corinthians 6:16 through 17.
Or do you not know and realize that when a man joins himself to a prostitute, he becomes one body with her? The two, it is written, shall become one flesh. Genesis 2:24. But the person who is united to the Lord becomes one spirit with him.
That's right. We're the temple. The temple is not the building. The church is not the building. What makes the building special is the congregation that's come together. This is the campus. This is the room that we hold a meeting in.
Right.
You know, the people are the church. We are the temple of the Holy Spirit. We are the temple of God now. He chooses to dwell in flesh, not in a temple built by man. And you can sin against your body. You can sin against your body. If you run outside in -2 weather in Bermuda shorts and barefoot, well, guess what? You probably gonna get a cold and a half.
Well, that says that
I mean, you sinning against your body.
immoral conduct demeans the price paid to redeem sinners
Yeah.
and diminishes the glory believers are to bring to him who loved so purely and powerfully.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, we think about the immoral conduct. We think about those things. We think about drugs. We think about cutters. We think about drinking. We think about all the obvious stuff. But what about when we overload our body with sugar? What about when we deprive it of the rest it needs? What about when we don't eat a balanced diet? What about when we don't
Or
give
right
it
portions.
or right portions? What about when we don't exercise? We're sinning against our temple all day long. we're opening the door to infirmity and
But
disease.
but the sexual immorality is worse.
Oh, yes.
Because
Oh, it's way worse.
that is a union.
Absolutely.
Should get tissue.
Absolutely. The reason I'm hitting on the little stuff more so is because I'm presuming that most of the people I'm speaking to are saved, and you know that's kind of red flag. Sexual immorality is off the table. Y'all should know that one by now.
But we'll overeat in a heartbeat.
But we'll overeat in a heartbeat, or we'll overdo the sugar, or we'll I don't want to drink water. Oh boy, you know your body needs water. You need it. And I'm talking to myself there. I like water that's come through the coffee pot, but that's not the water my body needs. My body needs more
Going
of
through the
this.
Coca-Cola factory.
Or the water sweetened with the sweet tea. No, I need water. I need better things. I need the right vitamins. I need the right minerals. We need to eat green things and not gummy bears.
Why you picking on me?
And not just
Not
gummy
green
bears.
gummy bears.
Yeah,
green
that's not.
M&Ms.
Yeah, Skittles.
Green.
That ain't the rainbow you're supposed to be eating.
Like green beans.
We need salad.
Green beans.
Green beans.
Green beans.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's little things like that. Yes, the obvious ones, yes. Sexual immorality causes all kinds of consuming diseases.
Yeah.
It causes consuming diseases.
Mhm.
Drugs cause all kinds of diseases. Alcoholism causes all kinds of diseases. Nasty, ugly stuff. But you're sinning against your body. Take care of what God's given you. Okay. If you sin using the body, God can strike it down.
Mhm.
You know, God strikes things.
Mhm.
Says that, what was the one I was reading the other day? Said that God struck them with something. Their body. So, no. I don't think, in the Old Testament it says God strikes people with things. But you gotta understand in most of the Old Testament, Satan's not even mentioned. So they thought God caused everything. It's more like you tear down the hedge and then you can get sucker punched. Genetically inherited diseases are connected to curses, generational curses.
Mhm.
Good old Deuteronomy 28. This is a long one.
That's a long one.
This is a long one. We about to go through the list, y'all.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh boy.
It was or not, but.
Deuteronomy 28.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, we might as well go over it
Might
because
as well. Might as well.
we've referenced, we've danced. We're gonna start at 15. This is the consequences of disobedience. Yeah. And this is a long portion because we're going through the end of the chapter.
What is it?
Deuteronomy 28. We're starting at verse 15.
At the curses.
Oh yeah, we're reading through the curses.
Okay.
If you want.
Okay. I'm in the NASB.
I'll get it.
Is that okay?
Fine.
Is that okay with you? I got the King James parallel, so if we need to pop in, feel free to chime in, y'all. But it shall come about, if you do not obey the Lord your God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, with which I charge you today, that all these curses will come upon you and overtake you. And Israel had to agree with these terms, in case y'all were wondering. They agreed to it. Okay.
Yeah, they was actually on two different mountains. They had a
Yep.
mountain of blessing and a
Mountain
mountain of
curse.
was it Ebal and what was the other one?
Yep.
Mm.
So they agreed to this. This is the terms. You know, and the terms have not changed so much. You know, if you love me, keep my commandments. Well, what are the commandments? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, with all your might, and love your neighbor as yourself.
The wise man built his house on the rock.
Yeah.
And who is this one that
Hears and does.
Hears not only hears my words,
But does.
but does them.
That's right. That's right. Okay. So here we go. That charge. Okay. To do all this. I'm on 16 already. Okay.
Yeah.
Cursed shall you be in the city. Cursed shall you be in the country. Cursed shall be your basket and your kneading bowl. Cursed shall be the offspring of your body and the produce of your ground, the increase of your herd and the young of your flock. Cursed shall you be when you come in, and cursed shall you be when you go out. The Lord will send upon you curses, confusion, and rebuke in all you undertake to do until you are destroyed and until you perish quickly on account of the evil of your deeds, because you have forsaken me. Well, that's not very pleasant. No. But you're agreeing to it. Why? Because if you're not in the blessing, you're in the curse. Let's see. The Lord will make the pestilence cling to you until he has consumed you from the land where you are entering to possess it. The Lord will smite you with consumption and with fever and with inflammation and with fiery heat.
And that consumption's TB.
TB? Okay. And with the sword and with blight and with mildew, and they will pursue you until you perish. The heavens, which is over your head, shall be bronze, and the earth, which is under you, iron. The Lord will make the rain of your land powder and dust from heaven. It shall come down on you until you are destroyed. You want to read a few?
The Lord shall cause you to be defeated before your enemies. You will go out one way against them, but you will flee 7 ways before them, and you will be an example of terror to all the kingdoms of the earth. Your carcasses will be food for all birds of the sky and the beasts of the earth, and there will be no one to frighten them away. The Lord will smite you with boils of Egypt, and with tumors, and with scab, and with itch, from which you cannot be healed.
That is miserable.
Ooh.
That says tumors. The King James says hemorrhoids. I thought that was hemorrhoids.
The root can be hemorrhoid or tumor.
Or tumors.
According to the Hebrew.
Oh,
Yeah. There's options.
okay.
The Lord will smite you.
I don't like either of those options.
Either of those, no, you don't want either of
No,
them.
no. The Lord will smite you with madness, which comes along with the unhealing itch.
Yep. Yeah.
And with blindness, and with bewilderment of heart.
Ooh.
And you will
I'll look
grope
that
at
up.
noon as the blind man gropes in darkness. And you will not prosper in your ways, but you shall only be oppressed and robbed continually, with none to save you.
Wow.
You shall betroth a wife, but another man will violate her. You shall build a house, but you will not live in it. You shall plant a vineyard, but you will not use its fruit. Your ox shall be slaughtered before your eyes, but you will not eat of it. Your donkey shall be torn away from you.
That means your car's gonna be repossessed.
Oh. Yeah,
and,
pretty much.
and will not be restored to you. Your sheep shall be given to your enemies, and you will have none to save you.
No help.
Your sons and your daughters shall be given to another people, while your eyes look on and yearn for them continually. But there will be nothing you can do. A people whom you do not know shall eat up the produce of your ground and all the labors, and you will never be anything but oppressed and crushed continually. You shall be driven mad by the sight of what you see.
Torment.
The
No
Lord
peace.
will strike you on your knees and legs with sore boils, from which you cannot be healed, from the sole of your foot to the crown of your head. The Lord will bring you and your king, whom you set above over you, to a nation which neither you nor your fathers have known, and there you shall serve other gods, wood and stone.
Wow.
You shall become a horror, a proverb, and a taunt among all the people where the Lord drives you.
Ooh.
You shall bring out much seed to the field, but you will gather it little, for the locust will consume it. You shall plant and cultivate vineyards, but you will neither drink of the wine nor gather the grapes, for the worm will devour them. You shall have olive trees throughout your territory, but you will not anoint yourself with the oil, for your olives will drop off. You shall have sons and daughters, but they will not be yours, for they will go into captivity. The crickets shall possess all your trees and produce of the ground. The alien who is among among you shall rise above you higher and higher, but you will go down lower and lower. He shall lend to you, but you will not lend to him.
Wow,
He shall be the head, and you will be the tail.
that's right. And we can skip on down to 59 through 61. You get the idea here.
All right. Let's see.
Yeah.
Then the Lord will bring extraordinary plagues on you and your descendants, even severe and lasting plagues and miserable and chronic sicknesses. He will bring back on you all the diseases of Egypt, of which you were afraid, and they will cling to you. Also every sickness and every plague which not written in the book of this law, the Lord will bring on you until you are destroyed. Then you shall be left few in number, whereas you were as numerous as the stars of the heaven, because you did not obey the Lord your God.
There you go. If you see any disease, you see a curse. And if you see a curse, there's a reason for it. Disobedience. Proverbs 26:2 tells us, as the bird by wandering, as the swallow by flying, so the curse causeless shall not come. You can't be, it can't stick, if you will. In order to get the disease removed, you have to remove the cause.
Repent.
Repent, renounce, and remove.
That's
Three
right.
R's of deliverance.
Repent is a change in mindset. You have to say, oh, that's wrong, I cannot do that anymore. No, it's a turning away from. Renounce means to drop it. There's the physical action that I'm not doing that anymore. Then you can remove it.
Yeah.
But until you're willing to give it up in your mind and give it up in your daily action, you haven't changed. You've just said, I'm sorry. And God never asked for an I'm sorry. He tells us to repent, to change our mindset, to renounce, to remove, to stop it. Go and sin no more, lest the worst thing come upon you. He tells us those things.
Yeah.
All right, so, fibromyalgia. Why is it there? It's there from a lack of nurturing. It's one thing. It's there due to insecurity, due to fear. Fibromyalgia is the result of fear, anxiety, and stress, unresolved conflict. Boy, I've seen that one happen, haven't you? Yep. Yeah. Stress, anxiety, fear, unresolved conflicts. Listen, that's why the Bible tells you, if you have aught, lay your gift down, go make it right, and then you can make it right with God. You can't have unresolved conflicts. We are supposed to be a family. We got to get along. We got to work things out.
You're not going to be able to do that when you hide.
No,
your
I didn't do nothing.
frustration
You didn't hurt
with
my
somebody
feelings. No, you didn't hurt my feelings. Bull. You got feelings and they can be hurt, I assure you. You're not made of iron. You know, we all do it. Families hurt each other's feelings all the time. Doesn't change the fact that they love each other. Doesn't change the fact that, you know, they gonna bunch up when the time is hard. That they gonna do. We need to learn how to operate in that family dynamic instead of in that, well, I'll just pick a different church dynamic. You know, we're placed within the body as He sees fit. If you're able to go shopping for a church like you shop for a car, you're probably doing it wrong. God has a place within the body where He wants each and every person. And we need to grow where we're supposed to be planted. Okay, back to that. So, when those issues are dealt with, many times fibromyalgia will go away. Similarly, when bitterness is dealt with, many times arthritis just goes, what? Bitterness. It's not pretty. When self-hatred and guilt is dealt with, lupus and other autoimmune diseases go away. When a broken heart and wounds are dealt with, many allergies go away. Chronic stuff with your sinuses. Huh?
Broken heart.
Broken heart. Why? Because it leads to stinking thinking.
Okay.
There's a direct link between your thought life and your sinuses. Well, get that right. Get your mind in the right place. Oh boy. In spiritually rooted diseases, there is always a spiritual defect. And the spiritual defect is an area lacking sanctification. An area that you have not set apart for God. An area that you haven't cleansed. Alright, guard your heart and guard your tongue, and you'll guard your life and your health. Why? Because out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks. So a lot of those spirits that we cast out of the tongue have to be cast out of the heart as well, because they got to the tongue by way of the heart.
It's what comes from the inside that defiles a man, not what he eats.
There you go. Proverbs 4:23 tells us,
Watch over your heart with all diligence, for from it flows the spring of life.
yeah, your heart. What's in your heart? Proverbs 14:30.
A sound heart is life to the body, but envy is rottenness to the bones.
There you go. Envy in the heart can cause trouble in the bones. You need to be content.
Did you say 13 and 30?
14 and 30.
14 and 30. Okay.
Yeah, that made more sense, didn't it?
Yes, it does.
14 and 30. You know, we'd do better if we just take the approach, you know, God, don't give me so much that I don't think I need you. And don't give me so little that I steal or that I curse you. But feed me with bread convenient for me or sufficient for me. Be happy. You know, some servants of the Lord need jets and need more money to operate than others. That's okay. I don't have to lust after that. I don't have to say, well, God, I'm doing your work too. Why don't you? I may not need a 747. That's okay. You know? He knows what I need. He knows the scope and the reach. What am I doing with what He's given me? That's what I have to ask myself. My heart don't have to envy after those things. Well, everybody likes that one. Yeah, no, you know, that's fine. Everybody likes all too. Didn't end so well. You know, hey, all I have to worry about is, does God like me? Am I doing what He's telling me to do? I need to be content where God has placed me. Psalms 6:2.
Be gracious to me, O Lord, for I am pinning away. Heal me, O Lord, for my bones are dismayed.
There you go. More problems in the bones. Now, a broken spirit, Proverbs 18:14.
The spirit of man will sustain him in sickness, but who can bear a broken spirit?
Moral of that story, when you have a breach in your spirit, you're not going to be sustained in an infirmity. The breach in the spirit causes a severing of that healing factor. It's going to be one thing after another. Have you seen people like that? Boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom. They catch everything that goes around. They're constantly sick, constantly troubled, constantly in the bed, constantly this, constantly. Why? There might be a wound in the spirit that needs to be addressed.
That's where the healing might have to come in.
That's right. That's where the healing has to come in. There you go. Oh boy.
That's not something that's just out there a lot of times. It takes
a lot. A lot of hurt, unforgiveness, a lot of bitterness, a lot of rejection, a lot of wounding, and yet a lot of trauma creates a wound in the spirit. Okay. Now we're going to go to Proverbs 12:25.
Okay. Anxiety in the heart of man causes depression, but a good word makes it glad.
Ooh. Sorrowful heart. anxiety, trouble. What can turn it away? A good word. What is a good word? A godly word. You know what? You might not need to be scrolling Facebook all the time if it just makes you angry. You know what? You might not need to be watching CNN if it gets your dander up and gets your feathers ruffled all the time. It's kind of simple. That's a good word. That's a word for y'all right now. Y'all don't have to do that. Y'all ain't got to do it. You know what? There was a time when everything that was coming on my Facebook feed, there were certain videos regarding certain things going on in our nation I could not watch. Why? Because I could feel
Don't watch it, Mandy.
I could feel it. I could feel it on the inside.
Tabasco.
And I finally started going, no, 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 no. I started watching cooking videos. I'm like, ooh, they're going to cook something.
A lot of recipes come up.
Yeah, a lot of recipes. Then we had to try all the recipes, and well, nobody's complaining. There were better things to do.
God knows what I mean. A lot of fishing videos.
Doesn't mean that you had to be
A lot of videos.
ignorant of what's going on around you.
No. But if I knew it was going to feed
Yeah.
an ungodly condition, an ungodly mindset, if it was going to cause me to step out of love, that's the big question.
Not perfect the love walk.
Not perfect the love walk. Was it causing me not to have love toward a group of people? Yep, that's what it was doing.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? At that point, I don't care what that group of people's doing. I don't need to watch these videos. You know what? There's people of that walk of life or whatnot that are godly brothers and sisters, and I don't need to have anything that's going to affect my love walk with them.
Drive on, boys. Drive on.
You know what? Drive on. That's right. Drive on.
Get on back.
Preach
Drive
it,
on,
Keith.
boys.
That's it.
Where's Keith?
Where's Keith? All right, we got a few more references before we log off for the evening. Still in Proverbs, we're going to move over to chapter 15, verses 13 and 15.
Okay. All joyful heart makes a cheerful face, but when the heart is sad, the spirit is broken. That was 13.
Okay, whoa. What breaks the spirit? Y'all want to know what wounds the spirit? We just got our answer.
Sorrow of the heart.
Yeah, sadness. Sadness. Prolonged sadness. This could be back to that prolonged grief that is the same root word as Leviathan. It'll breach the spirit. It'll lock you down. It'll put you in a place you ain't meant to be.
Yeah.
Have a joyful heart. People can see on your face the
Yeah.
condition of your heart. Read it like a book. We need to spread joy. Verse 15.
All the days of the afflicted are bad, but a cheerful heart has a continual feast.
A continual feast. It can feed itself. Doesn't have to worry. And there are a few things better than coming into a kitchen with all the aromas of your favorite foods just done. One of my favorite smells ever is ground beef with onions and bell peppers with saute, and I love that. It's the start of all my favorite things: spaghetti, chili, soups. I like that smell. It's like it's the beginning of something beautiful. Tacos. It's the beginning of something beautiful. I know when I got that going on, life is about to be good.
There you go.
Yeah, that brings joy. A feast. One more reference. Where are we at?
Okay.
17 and 22.
A merry heart does good like medicine,
Oh,
but a broken spirit dries the bones.
oh, there's more things that dries the bones. A lot of stuff in the bones. All right, well, that is all we have time for tonight, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Remember, I love you. God loves you. There ain't anything you can do about it. We'll catch y'all next time.
Go. You got it, Ashley?
Giving